Chapter 2. I blinked my eyes open. The dome was bathed in a warm pink light. It was morning, and there was something heavy on my chest. Meow! That something was Leo. He was sitting on me. Meow, he said again, more loudly. I understood a little cat, and that meant I'm hungry. I guess you'll want breakfast, I said. Satisfied that I was finally awake, he leapt off me with a swish of a tail, landing with a soft thud on the floor. I stood up and yawned, walked over to the window. The landscape stretched out in varying shades of dusty red, as far as I could see. The low-hanging sun was a small dot against a pink sky with wispy blue clouds. Sunrise on Mars was magical. Just beyond the window was our backyard, the swooping craters where we spent hours playing outside while wearing our environmental suits, the lawn chairs and barbecue grill cobbled together from the parts Darby had scavenged from old machines. The grill didn't work, of course. There wasn't enough oxygen in the atmosphere to light a fire, but Darby loved to pose for those digipics next to it, wearing his environmental suit. He was very goofy like that. Meme said the only thing missing was grass. Phineas explained it was a plant that you grew and cut, and then grew again and cut. It didn't make much sense. Off to the side of our yard was the garage, where we stored our 2 rovers, and next to that was the docking station, where the robot-controlled supply ship from Earth that came every 2 years would connect to the settlement. I was already looking forward to the chocolate it would bring. Something caught my eye. A blinking light was moving slowly across the horizon. It was probably a rover from one of the other countries. It was always a little scary to think how close the other settlements were to us. I sometimes wondered what they looked like, as I've never seen them. We weren't allowed to go past the little cemetery on the edge of our territory. It was far too dangerous. There was a soft ringing in the distance. It was the meal chime. Salty Bill would be setting breakfast out now. After that would be morning chores, lessons, lunch, and then afternoon chores, free time, supper, and then evening chores, and finally bed. The next morning we would wake up and start the same routine over again. Cy liked to say a boring day on Mars is a good day. We better get moving, Leo, I said. Yum yums. It was a baby word that I used for food. Now I use it on Leo. He knew that word and turned towards me. But before I could take a step, it happened. A glowing round object hurled across the sky, a white-hot tail of light streaking behind it. It crashed far away, waves of bright light exploding around it like a halo. Leo darted under the couch right before the room began to shake. All around me, the room rocked wildly. I tumbled to the ground across the room. The desk holding the communications digi-slate rattled, and the chair in front of it tipped over with a loud crash. Papers on the desk spilled across the floor, and a locker banged open. I decided to stay where I was. It seemed like the safest thing to do. And then, as suddenly as it started, it was over. Everything was still. I crawled to the window and looked out. A plume of red dust rising, as if it had been kicked up by whatever had crashed into it. The question was, what had crashed? It looked like a ship, but not any ship I had ever seen. It was too round, too glowing, too otherworldly, too alien. Feet pounded up the stairs. Cy burst into the room. Worry etched into the lines of his face. He must have been in the middle of shaving. He had green shaving cream on one cheek. "Are you hurt?" he demanded. I shook my head and then remembered. "Leo!" I cried, looking around. Scrambling down onto my hand and knees, I peered under the couch. Leo was hurled into a tight loaf and stared back at me. I tugged him out, checking him over. He seemed fine. Then people were running into the room. Darby and Elena, Trey, Flossie, Vera, and Albie. Albie looked half awake, his baseball cap on backwards. "Sit rep," Cy barked. It was short for Situation Report, and it was his way of asking what had happened. "Something crashed," I said, pointing out the window. "I don't think it was an alien. I think it was an alien ship." Everyone looked at me as if I was an alien. Everyone except Trey. He and I had always been fascinated by aliens and monsters. We had watched every reel in our collection that featured them. "Alien?" Trey asked, eyes widening. I nodded. "Belle," Cy said, shaking his head, "there's no such thing as aliens." Technically, he was right. We had colonized the moon and begun to settle Mars. And all that time, we hadn't encountered alien life. But I knew aliens existed. Why wouldn't there be something else besides us out here? It just made sense. There were hundreds of billions of galaxies. Surely one of them had intelligent life. Maybe even alien cats? Mee ran in, carrying her portable med kit. She was wearing her bathrobe. Her short gray hair was wet and plastered to her head. "What happened?" she asked urgently. "Something crashed," Flossie said. "He thinks it was an alien ship," Trey added. "It definitely was an alien ship," I said. Mee pushed her way forward and her med kit, her pale eyes filled with worry. "Did you hit your head, Belle?" she asked, her hand in my hair, feeling for bumps. "No," I said, shaking her off. "I'm fine. But this silly talk of aliens. I saw the ship." "Describe exactly what you saw," she said, like I was describing symptoms. She was our doctor, after all. So I did. I described the circle of light, the bright white tail, the explosion. How everything shook, and Leo was terrified. "I see," she said. She looked up at Cy. Cy was rubbing his gray beard, which he did when he was trying to puzzle something out. There were still bits of shaving cream on his face, but he didn't seem to notice. "Sounds like a meteorite," Elena said. She was wearing her usual cargo shorts and t-shirt. She liked to wear shorts because she was in and out of environmental suits all day and got hot. "But it glowed," I said. "That's what meteors do when they enter the atmosphere," she explained. "I'm pretty sure one crashed when you said you'd marry me, Peanut Butter," Darby teased, winking at his wife. "Or maybe that was my heart exploding from happiness." She rolled her eyes at him. "Really, Jelly?" Peanut Butter and Jelly were their silly pet names for each other. They had fallen in love on the moon. Cy said he recruited them to Mars as a package deal. Elena was super smart. She had helped design the lunar settlement. Darby called himself a jack of all trades. "Let me through," a voice called loudly. Phineas was pushing up to the front with his cane. He was old and moved slowly, but he had a way of making himself heard. He walked to the window and stared out at that plume of dust. Whatever it was, It landed near the French settlement, Phineas had pointed with his cane. We need to contact them to see if they're all right. Absolutely not, Cy said in a firm voice, crossing his arms. Cy, Meme said, maybe we should go take a look. It's not our territory, it's not our problem. You know the rules. There were a lot of rules, they said, because Mars was dangerous. I knew them by heart. We all did. They were impossible to miss. The grown-ups had taped them to the front of the toilet in our bathroom. Settlement rules. Do not go outside without a buddy. Use the alarm bell in emergency. Keep a glow stick in your pocket. Rovers are off limit for children. Do not go beyond the flag. No contact with foreign countries, ever. Beneath the typed rules, someone, probably Vera, had added, always put down the toilet seat. Vera, who never missed a chance to argue, asked, why can't we go see what it is? Because it's too dangerous, Cy said. Yeah, it's too dangerous, Albie echoed. You'll just say whatever Cy says, Vera snapped at him. What if somebody's hurt? Phineas asked. And then everyone was talking at once. The voices kept getting louder and louder until I couldn't tell who was speaking. A loud whistle pierced the noise. I turned to Salty Bill, standing in the doorway, wearing his apron and holding a plastic whistle. He had a handkerchief over his head, and a long gray ponytail dangled beneath. What's the ruckus? He hollered as the room fell silent. An alien ship crashed over there, I said. It was a meteorite, Cy said. Salty Bill just shook his head. I don't care if it was a pterodactyl flew out of a black hole and landed here. I'm serving breakfast in 5 minutes. It's the only meal you're getting until lunch, he announced. Salty Bill turned and stomped out of the room. Everyone looked around for a minute and then followed him out. Aliens or no aliens, no one ever missed a meal on Mars. And that's the end of chapter 2.